Hello, and welcome to episode 74 of 10,000 Stitches podcast, a weekly chit chat all about the joys of small scale knitting. My name is Andy, and if you were looking for me on the interwebs, about the only place you can find me right now is on Ravelry as Purlbug, Purlbug. Although I have been thinking about getting back to Instagram, but I'm not there yet. But anyway, I have my blog at thepurlbug.com, and then we have the 10,000 Stitches podcast group on Ravelry. If you're looking for links to anything that I mentioned today, any shops or patterns or anything like that, if you're watching this on the embedded video on the blog post or the Ravelry thread, everything will be right below the video. If you're watching this on YouTube, in the description box below the video, there will be a link to the blog post for this episode. You can go there and then find all the links right below the video. I know I'm a little bit shiny, I'm a little bit sweaty. Shiny is such a nice way of putting it, but no, I'm just sweaty. Because I am currently recording on Monday, September 18th? Yes. I'm recording on Monday, September 18th, and this episode will go up on Tuesday, September 19th. I just got home from work a little bit ago, and then I've been running around trying to get everything gathered up. So yeah, I'm just sweaty. So sorry about that. I'm guessing today will be a little bit shorter episode because I don't have a ton to talk about. I actually only have one knitting project in front of me right now, and then I just have a whole bunch of yarn. So yeah, and as you can see, we've already started the process of Wesley packing up and everything, so things have just been crazy. We had a crazy weekend, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but yeah. I guess we'll do the usual things, but a lot of the segments will be sort of empty. So let's talk about my work in progress, because I have no finished objects this week, but I do have a half object, so that's super exciting. So let's talk about that. My half object is my Undine Socks, and as you can see, I haven't woven in any ends or anything yet, but yeah, I talked about these a little bit last week. These are my first time doing any sort of intarsia, and these are intarsia in the round, so fancy. But yeah, these are a really fun pattern that has sort of this intarsia lace panel on what is otherwise a pretty, basic vanilla sock. And so this is what that looks like. So that's what that lace panel looks like. I mentioned this last week, but I am using some Regia 4-ply in the, I think it's Regia 4-ply. It's like the snowflake line, and this is the ski mask colorway, is this sort of striped yarn, and then the intarsia panel is being done in a hand-dyed yarn that I did over Christmas of this last year. So yeah, this one is done, and I just started the second one. These are being made on US size 1s, which are 2.25 millimeter needles, and I am making the 66 stitch size, which I think is sort of like the medium size for these. And yeah, I just started the second one, and as you can see, I'm still sort of on the cuff. I have a little cuff mustache, but otherwise, yeah, I mean, I really enjoy this pattern. Kind of once you get the hang of the intarsia, it's really, really easy, and yeah, I've really just been enjoying it. I've been pretty much following the pattern more or less exactly. I do think that on this second one, I think I'm going to put in a different color lace panel. I've been thinking I'm going to use this yarn, which is left over from my poly sweater. It has a string on it. This is left over from my poly sweater. This was the sort of coordinating color that I used for the stripes. And I think this will also look really good with this yarn. And it's not like super different than like the color I'm already using, but I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun to kind of do two different colored lace panels, especially because it's sort of patchworky anyway. And I'm not bothering to like match up stripes on these socks. So I figured, you know what, why not really make them not match and put two different colored lace panels on them. But yeah, that's that. And I've sort of been working on this at home, not because like it requires any like great amount of concentration or anything, but with having two balls of yarn attached at any one time, it is a little bit easier to like just work on it sitting on the couch versus trying to bring it to work or bring it on the go with me. So this is definitely sort of a stay-at-home project. But yeah, that's really it. Otherwise, my Tempest cardigan has had no love given to it over the last week. Even though I said last week that I was gonna get another piece cast on, I just haven't had time. So that's still, kind of stalled out. The socks I've been working on at work, those just vanilla socks using the Regia Perfect. I'm still chugging along on the second one. I'm now past the heel, but Again, nothing super exciting to report. Hopefully by the time I record again, you guys will be able to see a finished one. And the cowl that I'm working on that has that the cable pattern on it, again, that's waiting until I finish up those socks that I'm doing at work, so that hasn't really gone anywhere. So yeah, I just haven't had a lot of time for knitting. But let's talk a little bit about what's coming up next, and we'll do that. So yeah, I think I mentioned last week that I had bought that pattern called Undine, and I was super excited to knit that. And it's sort of this like mermaid sort of inspired pattern, and I've been really excited about that. And I mentioned that I was going to use this yarn that I dyed up when I did my crockpot dyeing tutorial, and that this was going to be one of the yarns that I used for the sock. And I mentioned that I think this really wants to be paired with a darker color. And so I had already been planning on keeping this color for myself. This is one of the ones that I dyed up with the last batch that went into my Etsy shop. This is just a really dark purple colorway. And this is on my 100% BFL base. This is again on the 100% BFL base. And I had been planning on keeping this one back for myself anyway. And I just sort of realized that I think these would look very good together for those Undine socks. So I think these are what I'm going to use. And the fact that there's no nylon in it, I mean, I'm curious to just see how well they wear without any nylon in them. But, you know, I mentioned last week that with those Undine socks, it sort of creates this like texture, and that I was curious to see if I could... So the way the pictures in the pattern are is it has you doing this sort of special stitch that makes this sort of shell pattern all the way around the foot, even on the bottom of the foot. And I was curious to see if I could get away with not doing it on the bottom of the foot. And it turns out you can't, because you sort of create this pattern with like some slip stitches, and if you try to not do it on one side of your work, it really screws up your gauge, and so like your row gauge. And so because I'm gonna have to work, you know, sort of that pattern on the bottom of the sock as well, I think that these will just be sort of like wear at home, you know, I don't want to say slipper socks, but sort of like lounge socks. So the fact that there's no nylon in here doesn't really bother me, because I'm probably never going to wear them with shoes. Like, they're just going to be worn to hang around the apartment. And so, you know, I doubt I will wear through them at any appreciable rate then. But yeah, so I think that's what I'm going to do for those Undine socks. And then I have actually, and I ripped out my swatch that I used for these. So I'm sorry I can't show you the pattern, but it is really cool. And then I actually have swatched for another upcoming project, which... I don't know what's gotten into me. I never swatch things, but I swatched, and that's super exciting. I don't know if you guys, you know, look on the front page of Ravelry a lot. I typically, you know, will check the front page of Ravelry, and every so often they do those, you know, like the eye candy posts where they'll have some sort of theme, and then they'll post a bunch of like projects that, you know, really matched well with the theme and are beautiful and beautifully photographed and everything. And so this last one that they did just recently was black and white projects. And, you know, I always look at these, and most of the time it's like, I would never make these projects. But this one, they actually had, one of the projects was something that I've had sort of my eye on for a while, which is this Mosaic Blanket. And the pattern is by Pearl Soho. And so, you know, I saw this, you know, beautiful black and white. I think it was actually like a pot holder or something that someone made using the same pattern for it. And my problem is that, you know, to make a blanket is not really something that I'm that interested in, because that's like very large, and I don't really tend to use blankets other than on my bed, and I don't want to make a bed size one for it. But then when I saw someone making a pot holder, I was like, oh, well, I could make that something smaller. And it just so happens that I've recently acquired a new bedside table, which I think I can show you guys. Just turn the camera a little bit. So you can see it right there with the plant on it, which I will show you guys also a little bit later. But anyway, I just got this from IKEA, and it's this little bedside table, and eventually it's going to actually go kind of in this space here next to this wall. I just haven't moved the bed yet. But anyway, the top of it is about maybe like a foot by like 18 inches or so. And I really wanted something that I could put like my alarm clock on and put my glasses on when I go to bed and everything. And I was thinking that, you know, that would be a fun thing to make this like a mini mosaic blanket to go on top of. And that way, you know, things are going to be less likely to slide around, and it just adds a little pop of color. And it gives me a reason to make like a smaller version of this blanket without, you know, having to commit to making a giant blanket. So I decided I would start swatching, and I made this cute tiny little swatch last night just to sort of get a feel for the pattern itself and to get a feel for the size needles that I wanted to use. And I apologize if you guys can hear that stuff in the background. They're doing some sort of like construction on the street just outside, and so I'm sure that's really annoying. But anyway, I apologize. There's nothing I can do about it. But anyway, so I was swatching this, and this is using fingering weight yarn on US size 1.5s, which are a 2.5 millimeter needle. And it seemed to work pretty well. It gives me a nice fabric that I really like. I just was doing this with some black yarn that I have and some cream, like leftover sock yarn that I have, just to sort of get a feel for kind of how it looks. And let's get an up close shot. So you can sort of see how that pattern looks. It really does look good with black and white. I don't think I'm gonna do black and white just because I don't have enough of this, you know, sort of cream colored yarn, but I am, I think, going to do black because, you know, I have almost an entire skein of this black yarn, and it's pure black. Like, this is the commercially dyed black yarn, and so it is black, and I don't really want like to knit a pair of socks with it because it's just gonna be murder on my eyes. So I figured this is a good way to use it up, and you know, and it gives that really good contrast. So I'm not exactly sure what second color I'm gonna do with it, but so this is a project that I am planning on getting started on sooner rather than later. I will probably start it, I don't know. I have no idea when I'm gonna start it, but anyway, I'm very excited about it. This is something that I am definitely going to do, and yeah, it's gonna go on top of that little bedside table, and it'll be fun. And it's kind of fun because I don't tend to do a lot of sort of like home good, you know, knitting. And so maybe this will be a gateway into doing some other sort of like home things versus only wearable things. We'll see. But yeah, that's basically it for what's coming up as well. Like, I'm just trying to not get too ahead of myself because, as I mentioned last week, things are busy right now, especially again with planning, you know, to move Wesley up to New Hampshire soon. So I'm just trying to like not overwhelm myself. But let's move on to some dyeing, because like I said, most of what I have in front of me right now is yarn, like in relation to dyeing things. So I got in some new yarn this week. I actually ordered it, I think, on like Monday, and I ordered some more yarn from, again, Wool to Dye For. And I really like them because, again, they are here in Virginia, which meant that I think I got my package the next day. So yay for that. But I ordered 3 bases that I haven't tried before. And the first one is one that I'm super excited about. And this one I only ordered 2 skeins of. So normally Wool to Dye For, you buy in 1 kilogram batches, which is 10 100-gram skeins. And typically you can't buy quantities less than that. But they do have what's called their secret stash, which is where things that like, you know, like odd quantities wind up. So like if they have a cone that has like an odd weight, it'll wind up there. Or if they, you know, maybe don't have a full 10 skein set, like they'll list a couple individually. So this is one where they had 2 of these listed for like $18. And these are, I think it's their Sheila's Sparkle Base. And so it's a 70, well, what is it? It's 75% merino, 20% nylon, 5% silver stellina. And it's the first yarn I've ever, you know, worked with that has stellina in it, that I've ever dyed that has stellina in it. And it's a pretty subtle sort of sparkle to it. You can just see a little bit of it catching the light there. But I really like that. And like I said, so I only have 2 skeins of this. And so my plan for this is to dye both of these skeins up in that chocolate peppermint bark colorway that I'm kind of doing for Christmas this year. And one of them will become the prize for this current knit along, and then the other will become mine for my Christmas socks this year. So yeah, I'm super excited. I haven't dyed these yet because I really want to make sure that I don't screw it up. But yeah, that's definitely on my plate to do. And then I got 2 1 kilogram quantities of yarn. So the first one that I got is on a base that Wesley really wanted. And this is their Donegal, I think it's their Donegal sock base. And so this is a sort of like tweed base, I think is the right word for it. So it's got the little tweedy nubbins in there. And they have 2 varieties of this base. One of them has little colored nubbins, and the other one, and then this is the other one, and it has just black and brown and sort of gold nubbins in it. So that's, and then the base itself is sort of a darker sort of base, as you can see, compared to like a normal skein. So that's the Donegal sock. And then the other one that I got is this one, which is called, I think, Sheila's Titanium. And this is a 2-ply sock yarn. This is 75% merino 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. This one is 85% superwash merino, 20% nylon. So yeah, super excited about both of those. I've actually dyed up a skein on each of these. Like I said, Wesley chose this one because he really liked it. And so I'm dubbing this base and anything that gets dyed on this base as Wesley's wool. And it's all going to be sort of colorways that either he helps me dye or things that he requests. So the first one that I dyed on that is actually a brown skein of yarn because he just really loves his neutrals. And I think it took really, really well. So this is what that looks like up close. And it's showing up a little bit brighter because of the light from the windows, but it is just a really deep, rich chocolate brown, and you can still really see those little tweedy bits. And there is some variation. You can see there's sort of a light spot over here, but it's not as light as it looks. Maybe if I hold it back here, it'll look a little bit better. This is probably a truer representation of the darkness of it, but it is a little bit more red than it's showing up. So that's the first thing I've dyed on that Donegal sock base. And then the first skein that I dyed on the Sheila's Titanium was actually inspired by someone who bought one of my pumpkin spice colorway skeins, and they said that they would really love something to kind of go with it. And so this is what I came up with as sort of a teal color to go with the pumpkin spice. So as a reminder, the pumpkin spice is this really sort of vibrant orange colorway, and I just thought that these look really great together. Like I could really see using these to knit like a shawl or something with. But yeah, so I really like that. This is sort of like a dusty sort of turquoise, dusty light turquoise / mint green color. And I'm really super excited about it. And then the other dyeing that I've done is I actually dyed up my last 2 skeins that I had of the, I think it's an 80/20 Superwash Highland Wool nylon blend. This was the ones that are in the 50-gram skeins, and I had 2 skeins left over when I had done a bunch of other dyeing, and I wasn't sure what to do with them. So I dyed them up, and these are the first skeins that I've ever dyed using coffee. And I'm going to keep them back here so they don't get washed out too close to the camera. But you can see they're this pretty light color. Here's an undyed skein, sort of as reference. So they're not super duper dark, but I'm really pleased with the way they came out. And they don't actually smell too much like coffee anymore. They did when I was, of course, washing them. But yeah, so I'm pretty pleased. That basically all I did was so we drink coffee every morning. I took the grounds that we'd already used and I brewed up another 2 pots using those same grounds. So of course it wouldn't have been good coffee to drink, but it was fine coffee for dyeing. And then I poured that in the crock pot, poured in some vinegar, soaked these in water with vinegar, and then just dyed them like I would normally dye something in the crock pot. Seemed to work pretty well. The colors seemed to be pretty stable. I'm not going to sell these. I'm going to actually knit with them myself because I'm not entirely sure how the color is going to hold on them. But yeah, seemed to work pretty well. So that's been my dyeing adventures over the past couple days. I've mostly just been doing it to kind of like maintain some sanity after I get home from work. But yeah, I really am feeling sort of like the neutrals and sort of the more demure colors right now. I think it's fall, right? Fall has got me sort of thinking about winter and sort of thinking about, some of those less vibrant sort of colors, some of those just a little bit more, what is the word that I'm looking for? There's a word that I'm looking for right now. Some of those more subdued. There we go. I don't know why I couldn't think of that, right? Some of those more subdued colors is sort of what I'm feeling right now in my dyeing. So, hey, I guess that's just how it goes sometimes. And now let's talk knit along. So yeah, our knit along just started September 1st and goes all the way through the end of October. And our theme for this knit along, the color theme is orange. The technique theme is color work. So for color work, that can be things like stranded color work. It can be mosaic knitting. It can be as simple as just manually striping something. And then a couple things that I had totally forgotten about would count as color work is double knitting. which I know is not super popular, but among people who like to do it, they really like to do it. So double knitting or two-color brioche. I totally forgot that two-color brioche is a thing because I haven't really gotten on the brioche bandwagon yet. But if you're doing something that has two-color brioche, that would totally count as color work as well. So I don't remember if we have any finished objects yet. I seem to think that we do have at least one or two finished objects, but we're not even to the end of September, so there's still plenty of time. And as a reminder, the prize for that will be one of those skeins of that pumpkin. No, God, why do I keep saying pumpkin? The chocolate peppermint bark yarn that I'm going to dye up on the sparkle base. So that's that for knit along stuff. Question of the week. So my question of the week kind of, again, comes back to this guy. So, like I said, this is the first time I have ever really seriously decided to do something based off of what's on that Ravelry sort of front page. And so my question is, have you ever made a project because you saw one on the Ravelry front page and you were like, yes, I need that in my life? And if you did, what was it? I'd be very curious because, I always look at that kind of stuff. I always look at the eye candy posts. But like I said, most of the time they just, it's like, oh yeah, that's nice looking, but I would never make it. And this is one of the first ones where it's like, yes, I need this in my life. So have you ever done that? And if so, what was it? But yeah, I think that's going to be it for the knitting sort of stuff. So if that's all you were here for, thanks very much for hanging out with me. Otherwise, I'm going to really quickly do chit chat because it's getting to be about dinner time and I want to go eat some dinner. So I'm going to try and keep the chit chat short. But mostly, again, because I've been so busy, like work has just been crazy, crazy busy. And so during the week, my life is basically go to work, do the work, come home, eat dinner, and then go to bed, right? Like I've just been too tired to do much. But yeah, like I said, Wesley is going to be heading up to New Hampshire soon. So, we've been in sort of full on preparation mode for that, which includes, so let's back it up before that even, right? So my sort of the interesting things in my life start on Friday. And so on Friday, I went and got the first batch of my dental work done. So if you've been around for a little while, you'll know that I need a lot of dental work done. I have like fillings that I need all over the place in my mouth, and to the point where we're actually having to like batch them because I just can't sit through all of them at once. And so I had the first quadrant done on Friday. So the ones in my upper right side of my face got done. I had 3 of them done on those upper right molars, which, wasn't super bad. I have a big fear of dentists, but I've had fillings before, so I kind of knew what to expect. So it wasn't that big of a deal. The only really annoying thing now is that one of them, I don't think she quite smoothed it down enough, because now the tooth that's underneath it, whenever I chew, that tooth hurts, but it doesn't hurt otherwise. So I can tell that it's making contact in a goofy way. So now I have to go back again this Friday and see if they can maybe smooth that one down just a little bit more so that it doesn't do that. But the annoying thing is that the dentist I go to, at the location that I go to, they're only there on Fridays. So it's now I have to wait until Friday, and it's currently Monday. So I'll just have to chew carefully for a week. But yeah, so I did that on Friday, and then, we had a faculty meeting, which was just kind of a doozy, and then I had to teach. So by the end of the day Friday, I was like, I can't even with today. And so then, I came home and I just had a really quiet night. And then on Saturday, we decided that we wanted to go up to IKEA. And there's an IKEA here in Virginia, and it's about an hour and 20 minutes north of here. It's almost all the way up to DC, but it's not quite, up to DC. So I'm going to say it was probably an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and a half. So we drove all the way up there, did the IKEA thing. It was really interesting because this is the only IKEA I've ever been to other than the one in Minneapolis, because, of course, that one was so close to home. Why would I go to any other one? But we got some furniture. We got we got the little bedside table, which I showed you guys. We got a new desk for here in the bedroom, which is behind the camera over there. But it's a kitchen table, but I'm going to be using it as a desk. We got an identical one for Wesley to take up to New Hampshire with him. We got him a mattress. We got a couple chairs, things like that. because the nearest IKEA to where he's going to be is like 5 hours away or something. So it was like, well, let's pick up a couple of these things now, especially like a mattress, so that we'll have them when he gets up there. So we did that on Saturday. That just took up a lot of time, with the driving, and then just like going to IKEA takes forever. Oh, the other thing I got at IKEA is this plant. So I had seen one of these back when we were in Minnesota and we went to that IKEA there. I had seen one of these plants and I totally fell in love with it. And of course I couldn't buy it then because we had to fly back. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to, this is going to make it in my luggage. But it's a live plant. It turns out they do sell live plants at IKEA now. And it's a Sansevieria, which is the same. It's a variety of snake plant, basically. Oh, and there's like a root that was tickling my hand. It's the same. It's a variety of snake plant. I think this is Sansevieria cylindrica, maybe. And so they're like these sort of like tube shaped things. It's like a succulent. But the best part about this, right? So I just think it's such a cool looking plant. And the best part about this is we've named it, and we don't name all of our plants, but we named this one. And Wesley named it Hans because it kind of looks like fingers from a hand. And so he decided it should be named Hans. And I totally love it. And it's like my new favorite plant. So yeah. But we did that. And so that was our day Saturday. And then yesterday, Sunday, we, had to do some of the normal, weekend things like going grocery shopping and stuff. And then we went up to King's Dominion for like the last time this season. And it was hot yesterday. Like it was surprisingly hot yesterday. And I just was sort of not having a good time, right? Like I was tired because I didn't sleep well the night before and it was hot and I think I was a little dehydrated. So it was not the best trip up there, but it was a good trip to kind of round out the season. So that was good. And then now here we are on Monday. So it's like the weekend just seemed to sort of disappear for us a little bit, which, maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, but yeah, and it just is crazy how fast Wesley's move is coming up, and then I'm gonna be all alone. So, which I mean, like I've talked about this a little bit before, but like it's a bummer that he's moving so far away, but it's not like the end of the world, but it is a bummer. So I'm trying to keep looking at the positive side of things and be like, well, this will be good because I will enjoy living on my own for a little while and all of that stuff. Just to, try and keep myself pepped up about it. But that's, anyway. Yeah, so that's my life right now. Just busy, busy, busy. And even when I do have free time, I don't feel like I have much free time. So that's, I guess, going to be it for this episode. I'm going to go make myself some dinner. And yeah, thank you very much for hanging out with me this week. And I will see you later. Bye.